Hello, hello, hello to those individuals that on Facebook Live and those individuals that on YouTube. Welcome, I'm Dr. Darrell Green, and I am going to be your webinar leader, your coach, your motivator. So one of the things that I want to do before we even get started, in the chat, I want you to tell me where you're located. Can I get a shout out? If I had you in the room, I would really want to connect with you. So just let us know where you're at. A shout out to Texas, a shout out to Oklahoma. Maybe there's somebody from Spain. I think we might have somebody from South Africa. So first, I am so glad to be presenting such a critical subject. First, I want to give honor and thanks to the leadership of the St. John Missionary Baptist Church, Pastor Dr. Major Jemison, Christian Director Lawrence Kirk, and of course, I want to thank Ms. Deborah Johnson, the Parish Fellowship Director, and also Mr. Marcus for being our host and producer. So we're going to have a great time. The subject that I'm talking about right now is market trends, 100 base businesses to start on a limited budget. The question I want to ask to you, I want you to think about 2020. Were you satisfied? Were you happy with what happened in 2020? So what we're going to be talking about tonight is to try to give you some legitimate home-based businesses that you can run from your home. Is that okay? All right, let's get started. So we are going to make this presentation available to you later as a compliment for coming on this. But again, we're online, so like us on our Facebook page. You can like us on YouTube's, and we're going to present more and more content in the future. So you just might want to follow us. Amen. All right, let's get going. So do you have any options that you are planning to have? So you want a home-based business, but you don't want to do multi-level. You don't want to do multi-levels, and you've heard a lot of scams. And really, this seminar is really about what you can do. It's, again, market trends, 100 home-based businesses start on a limited budget. Now, I have a book, I have a little cheat sheet. I have over 450 businesses that I could go through, but I just don't want to waste your time. So we're just going to go ahead and move on. So the agenda for the day, we're going to be talking about marketing trends, kind of set the stage, and then we're going to give an overview of the home-based business that are available. And then we're going to kind of wrap it up. So this is what I want you to do since we are on online platforms, that if you have a question, I want you to put it in the chat box. We have engagement coordinators that are going to be monitoring that, and we're going to try to connect great with you guys. So we're just going to go ahead and move along. So the agenda for the day. So let's talk about who I am. Again, I am Darrell Green. I am originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. I graduated from Southern University in mechanical engineering. Met my wife, Estrelita. Met her there. We have 3 adult children, Mario, Shalita, and Demetrius. Both live in 3 different states, have 3 grandchildren. And I just want to let you know that I spent 27 years working for the Department of Energy as an engineer. But I wanted more out of life. Can anybody say more? Can you say more?
More.
Wanted more out of life. So I went back to school and I got my undergraduate degree. I got my master's degree. But you know what? My life did not change. My career did not get any better. So I went back to school again and I got a doctorate degree. It took me 7 years to get my doctorate degree. And guess what? It did not change. And so here's the thing. So my opportunity came outside of working for the department. But here's the thing, but I was building those skills, and here's the example that I want to kind of encourage individuals how I know about this subject. It's because I got an opportunity at a university in Tennessee, Knoxville College. Got an opportunity. I donated my time because I had a master's degree. Donated my time, and from there, built that reputation. Got that opportunity. Was able to go to another school. And so when I finished my doctor's degree, what I did was crazy. I thought in 2009, I said, God, I need to leave. But he had a different pattern for me. So I stayed and continued to work, went back to school, got another certificate. In 2005, I applied on 159 jobs in the academic world. And I got a call, I got a message from a school in Oklahoma Baptist University. And I didn't know, be honest with you, I'm kind of be honest with you. I really didn't know anything about Oklahoma but the Sooners and the Cowboys. But what happened? From that experience, I got hired because the work that I did at Knoxville College, the work that I did free. So that is really the experience that I bring. I currently work at Oklahoma Baptist University. That is my second career. And I also work with students, and I work with businesses, and what I try to do is make a transition. So what I'm telling you right now, maybe you see this particular webinar as an opportunity to move to a different transition. This is really what this is about. You know, if you want a side gig, and we're going to talk a little bit about the economy and what's going on, this is really what I bring to the table. I've written about it. I've done research on it. I have books, small business marketing. I have a marketing for professionals. But here's the step right now. So this whole webinar that I'm doing tonight, the only thing this webinar is just the first stage. Can you give me an idea for a home-based business? And this is what I'm going to do tonight. So that is really what my expertise is. I actually work with a lot of small businesses right now. I help my students work with small businesses, trying to help them position themselves. So here's the thing. In 2020, one of the things that became a reality, if you do not have an online presence, you don't exist. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I am just going to quickly cover what I consider 5 emerging trends. A lot of my clients, small businesses, a lot of individuals, they don't have time to go search on Google and find 5 million sources and find out what is good and what is bad. So this is really what I'm going to be doing for you. So I'm going to cover 5 marketing trends that really set the stage for what you can do in a home-based business. So the first one is digital footprint and e-commerce, mobility, technology disruption, data-driven strategies, and local community network. Now, I know, how many of you want to go back to 2020? Say yes or no in the chat if you want to go back. So that was something that we learned about 2020. First thing we learned, again, if you don't have an online presence, you don't exist. The second thing we learned, and for businesses learn, is that, you know what, I have 100 people, or I have 1,000 people, and I send them home. The reality is maybe I don't need all those individuals. And people started working remotely. And so the first thing is talking about the digital footprint. There are millions of individuals that are online. There are 520 billion being made by that commerce. And one of the things I want to talk about also is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is now around and available, and individuals will have to look at some other options in terms of that. Then this whole thing about being mobile, and we found with COVID that if you're not mobile, so if you're a small business or you're a large business and you cannot meet the demands of today, then you're not going to be successful. That is really one of the things that came across in 2020. You got to be able to be mobile. And here's the honesty. I'm not going to be doom and gloom, but I don't think it's going to get any better anytime soon, just because of the demographics that we deal with. Some things are there. Then we talk about data. So here's the thing: in the old days, say 20 to 30 years ago, If you are a small business, you just decide, hey, I want to do this and that, and it's just what we call your gut feeling. That is not going to work today. And so data-driven decisions are going to be in more demand. Also, networking with local communities are going to be in demand. And those are the things that we kind of talk about and we kind of go over. So then you have the rise of, we talk about the globalization. And the globalization is bringing people together. And those things all have a bearing on the business that we're talking about. So those are the five emerging trends. I wish I had more time to go into those areas. So now, let's talk about an entrepreneurial mindset. Do you think, first of all, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you have the capacity to be an entrepreneur, to have your own business? And here's the thing about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs see problems as opportunities. So that is what we're talking about. So here's an example I'm going to give you, and we would call this old school, but back when I was in the 70s, I was in this group. We had a club, a bunch of guys in my neighborhood, and we decided we wanted to make some money. So we used my house on 71st Street as the place. Now I'm going to show my age. So here's what we did. We got some Kool-Aid, got some styrofoam cups, and we put them in the freezer. We froze them, and we put a sign up in front of our house. And individuals coming left and right. Why? Because that was meeting the need, okay? That was called a cool cup, okay? So that was the entrepreneurial spirit for me in terms of getting that. Do you have that entrepreneurial spirit? So the next slide that I'm going to talk about, what are the characteristics? The entrepreneur's mindset trait is what we're talking about. So the first thing is determination and persistence. How many of you, put in the chat room, how many of you have been told no? That is pretty common. So you gotta be pretty persistent, okay? The other thing, you have to be driven to achieve and to be successful. You have to look at opportunities. Again, if you're working around with negative people, they probably don't see opportunities. They probably see problems. But that is not the mindset of we say entrepreneur. The other thing I talk to my students, that you got to have initiative. So that means you can't wait. So there's a difference. We're going to also do a seminar this weekend focused on employment trends. So in this case, we're talking about marketing trends, talking about jobs, owning your own business. The other side of that is employment trends, and that's basically working for somebody else. So you got to have the initiative to take those steps to be successful. Also, you got to be able to seek feedback. You have to have we call an internal locus of control. That means that I got to be driven not from the outside, but from the inside in. And that is really important. You got to be able to be a risk taker, but very important that you take risks. So these are all the things you need to think about before you even start this business. Okay, you got to have energy. You got to be able to have a vision. When people have no vision, they perish. So you got to have a vision. What does you go to the bank and you say I want a loan for a business? What is your vision? So you got to have a vision. You got to have passion. With me, myself, and my wife, we started a business several years ago called AGSM Consulting, and you got to have a vision. And our vision is we want to help people make good decisions through project management, helping small businesses, and a variety of things. And you got to be willing to surround yourself by teams. You got to be willing to work together in terms of team building and building that great company. So that is really. So do you have that mindset? Do you have the entrepreneur's mindset? Yes or no? Anybody? Okay. So now, here's what I'm going to cover. I'm going to break this down, and I'm actually in the future. What you will be seeing, I will be building or be designing is a list of over 100 businesses that you can get for under $1,000. And for this presentation, it kind of sets that framework. So here are the things we're going to cover: advisement, We're going to cover administration. These are all things that you can do. We're going to be talking about creativity and development, entertainment, general services, instruction, logistics and transportation, people and pet care, rental and selling services, and repair services. So I'm going to give you a limited version of that. Again, you will be able to contact us, and you can get my detailed PowerPoint presentation. That'll be a gift that we're giving you because our church, we do value communities. So let me just give you an example. I'm going to this. So I've been called the dancing doctor. I'm going to share this story with you. Several years ago, exactly 2012, my daughter Shalita gave my wife Shalita a ballroom gift certificate. Think about that. I'll be honest with you. My wife, we've been married over 30 years. I did not know my wife wanted to do ballroom dancing. Okay, so my wife went and she got the certificate, and she said, "Husband, Daryl, I got a ballroom certificate. Would you like to go with me?" I'm gonna be honest with you. I know this is bad. I did not go. She went a couple weeks without me going, and suddenly something came above. God told me, you know what? That ain't right. Be with your wife. I started going to those classes, and I want to let you know something, guys. I got hooked. So let's talk about this. So I got hooked. So we started doing showcases. We're just going with various ballroom studios. Then I moved into. We started doing competitive ballroom dancing. Can you imagine me, Dr. Green, doing ballroom dancing? But we were competing in Georgia, in Louisiana, in Oklahoma, and so I went to this university, or OBU, and I had an opportunity. I wanted to share this passion, this love that I had for dancing. I wanted to share that with my students, and I was able to put on periodically. I was able to put on an event, and then I was able to work at a technical school. They asked me to. I put on a seminar. I actually was a basic boot camp. I put that on in Shawnee, and I thought it was maybe 5 or 10 people showed up. Over 100 people showed up. So what did they tell me? There was a need. And I was amazed. So I was not certified. I had done some training, and then I had individuals contacting me and saying, "Will you? We're looking at a wedding. Could you teach us?" I said, "I can't do that. I want to give you some. There's somebody else could do it." And I met this couple. They said, "You know what?" They said, "We want to learn. We want to learn how to do ballroom dancing." And I said, "Well, I gave them some other place." They said, "No, we want you." And they said, "We'll pay whatever you want to get that." I was like, "Okay." So what am I saying? There are riches and niches. So find a niche, but that was something I just was passionate about. But if you have a skill set, so here's the thing to you. I want you to tell us, what are you good at? I want you to write down, what are you good at? Are you a painter? Or you're just a friendly person? What do your friends and what do your family say that you're good at? And I'm going to suggest to you that is a start. Why am I saying that? Because I was talking to a young lady. She was trying to get into another business, and she had no experience. According to the Small Business Administration, the first year, 20% of the businesses fail. Why do they fail? Some of them fail because they don't have the right capital. They don't have enough money. But personally, from my experience, I believe 90% of them fail because they didn't know marketing. They didn't understand their market. They didn't understand their skill set. And so that's really what we're going to talk about. So that was just my example, how I took ballroom, something that was done for fun, and there was actually a market for that. So I want you to think about that. So let's go into advisement. So when we talk about advisement, that means offering your expertise to individuals so that they can be better people, better things. So I'm going to give you some things. I'm just going to throw out what I think is some interesting things. Health and wellness coaching. So let's talk about COVID. So I want you to think now, we're still living in COVID-19. We're still dealing with the coronavirus. What can I do under that lens? Not a lot of people talking about that. What can I do under that? So let's talk about it. What has happened now? But because some people are at high risk, I can't go out. So what about you going to them? Of course, you're wearing your mask, and you offering health and wellness to them. The other one I think is good. Personal finance advisors. What about a property appraisal? So in the other session, I talk about employment, working for somebody else. What I think is going to be a big industry is LinkedIn coaches, resume coaches, getting those individuals. So here's what I tell you. If you don't have an online presence, I keep saying that, you don't exist. So that works for businesses, but it also works for individuals. So having that coaches is very important. Tax preparation. Let me ask you, raise your hand if you like playing games. So if you like playing games, there is another type of position. You could become a video game coach for all those fanatics that like playing games, and some of them don't like losing. That is a possible option. So there are a number of advisement type jobs that you do, and you can do them from your home. So I'm not saying going out and doing something. Most of these things you can do for under $1,000. So that's something. So that's advisement. Let's move to the next category. Administration office. I love this. And I got several. The one that I really love is a call center. I want you to think about this. You got a small business, but they don't have the infrastructure, but they have a need, especially if they're going into homes, out of homes. You could build your own call center. All you need, let me get my old raggedy phone. You got a phone, you could have a call center. And you can get several clients in your local area, building those networks in your local community. Also, a document developer. Having somebody to develop documents, you don't have time to do that. I have used this on numerous occasions, finding somebody who can do research for you. Here's an example. You got a small business, and you want to open a small business. You are thinking about opening up a pet shop. You can contact a research assistant and have them do that for you. I mean, you could charge $30 or $50, whatever the market would bear. The other thing is technical support. So here we go. I want you to raise your hand if you ever had any technical problems. You know, with IT or anything, raise your hand, okay? So that's many of us. And so a lot of times when you call a large company, you get an automated call. How about you offering that technical support, especially computers or even software? I was talking to somebody else who was having problems with 365, I think 365. 365. So that is an example. Here's another bright area I think is going to be wonderful. Is the virtual assistant. What is a virtual assistant? Well, that is somebody who could carry your calendars, not physically being in your office, but someone can do things remote. I've had help on designing presentations, the individuals setting up meetings. That is a great opportunity that you can do all from your home. The other one I think is great. Here's another comment. How many of you have ever used Zoom? Raise your hand if you ever used Zoom. Okay, think about Zoom. So I'm doing a presentation on Zoom. What has to happen in Zoom? First of all, you got to set it up, and we have Marcus doing a terrific job. But the lighting got to be right. You got to have the right lighting. You got to be positioned right, and either the clothes that you wear have to be appropriate. What also happens? You got individuals that's coming into the room. You got individuals that are chatting. You can't do all of that as a speaker. So if you are even in the speaking business, or you in a professional business, I think having I call it a virtual event moderator, is an excellent thing to have. So that is under administration, under office. Moving along. So are you creative? Raise your hand if you're creative. Just say yes, I'm creative. So creativity and development. So how many of you like cartoons? So you can become an artist, you become an animator, you can do a business plan, ghostwriter. Graphics design is important. I am certified in digital marketing. We need tons of graphic designers. Why? Because we're moving from text online more toward video, and so you need that. One of the things I like is a personal chef. Being a personal chef, you come to a person's home, they're tired of eating at Mickey D's, and they want to have that little special treat, and you could serve that role. Moving into entertainment. Now you're gonna probably laugh at me, but when I went to South Africa on a mission trip with my students, one of the things I think the students liked that I was able to make animals out of balloon animals. So becoming a balloon twister, that could be a niche. How about celebrity impersonator? Who can you impersonate? That might be a good one. Just think about at a house. Again, we're dealing with COVID-19. What about a DJ that's running the party from their house and generating music? I know a lot of young individuals. A music sampler, mixtape might be something. But I think the party MC, again, I think would be great. Think about giving tours in your local community, even if you're in a rural area. I think there is an attraction. Think about having a food tour, going to different homes. Think about doing an outdoor tour, river rafting, a lot of options. One of the things I've used a lot recently is a voiceover. So I got somebody, I'm doing a video, and I have somebody that's doing voiceover. There are websites like Fiverr and Upworks where you can get that talent, but also not only getting that talent, you can actually work that way. So what about becoming a vlogger? Dr. Green, what's a vlogger? So a blogger is someone who's using text. Well, a vlogger is someone who does it with video. Why I'm saying that's important, so there have been individuals that have made hundreds and perhaps millions of dollars doing that. Why? Because of online ads. So that is something to think about. So that is just in entertainment that we're dealing with. So general services. All right, this is not a game. This is not a soap opera. The first thing I'm going to say, you could be a bounty hunter. Maybe there's somebody you can't stand, and maybe you want somebody to go after them. But a bounty hunter, a detective, a grant, not a grant writer, which is certainly an option. What about a grant reviewer? I want someone who will give me an independent assessment of a grant that I've written. A notary, a referee. Now, I don't know about being a referee because you get hurt. I had my kids, referees get a lot of abuse, but certainly, even though COVID-19 exists, parents and kids are still doing athletics, they're still doing sports, and they still need referees. What about a scorekeeper who also gets abused, but that is also a paid position, and security guards? Moving on to instruction. Instruction, I like that, is being able to teach and instruct. So here's one I think is going to be hot as we move more toward online courses, online learning, a curriculum developer. So at somewhere like St. John Missionary Baptist Church, you have someone that's developing the curriculum. But also, here's one I think is important. How many of you have a student that's in high school? Raise your hand, say yes. Who's going to teach that individual to drive? Because of the economy, most of the driving education programs have been taken out of school. So if you got a lot of patience and you don't marry risk, you can become a driving instructor. A foreign language. Myself and my wife, we did this. But what about a foreign language? So here's the thing. A foreign language is going to be very important in the future. If you look at the demographics in Oklahoma and across the world, it's changing. More browner, more Latinos, a more diverse area. And if you want to be on the cutting edge, perhaps you need to take a language, and maybe you don't have the time or the patience to sit through a classroom. You could have a personal foreign language tutor. So if you're gifted in a foreign language, I have a lot of my students who are gifted. You have opportunity. You could that English is not your first language. You could use that same parallel and maybe teach somebody Spanish or teach somebody French. So that is a great opportunity. Online instruction, I mentioned, is going to continue to be huge. Sports trainers, our son Demetrius, he was a top 100 track athlete, and believe it or not, in high school, we were paying one of the coaches at the University of Tennessee was paying them $50 an hour. And I know in basketball and other sports, they're paying more than that. So if you have that skill, you played at a collegiate level, you probably are prime to be able to do that. So that is one thing to do. The other thing is, I know it's not as popular now, but the ACT and ACT, in the old days, they used to have testing centers. You could be a tutor, but that may be involved. Now I've done this before, but I got a lot of abuse when I first came out of college. I was a substitute teacher, and I got abused. But it's a great career. Every day I had a different job. But certainly being a substitute teacher, especially given with COVID, that some of the educators have to be gone because of illness. If you have a degree or whatever the state requires, that might be a great role to get into. So that is instruction. So this is the area that I really love: logistics and transportation. In my other presentation, when I talk about employment trends, I kind of talk about COVID, what industries were the winners and what industries were the losers. And I would call this category one of those areas. I want you to think about this in terms of that. Car deliverer, delivering cars, individuals, especially like eBay, you buy a car, you need somebody to pick it up, that is one. Grocery delivery, that is hot. Again, logistics mean coordinating. You got Lyft, you got Uber drivers. A meal delivery, that is hot. You can do it yourself. Moving services, people are always moving. Here's one I think is hot: running errands. Do you know anyone, a parent that's working hard, working 2 or 3 jobs? They don't have time to do what's necessary. You could be running errands for them. Software tech trainers, also one of those areas. So this is logistics and transportation. Again, so how many of you, I want you to tell me yes or no. Do you like animals? Come on now. Bambi, Lassie. I know some of you age, you probably don't even remember Lassie, but Lassie. So here's some things you can do that's under the category of people and pet care. An animal breeder, that is one. So here's another one. What about being a chaplain? That has opportunities. There are many senior citizens, and we talk about the baby boomers. The baby boomers are born 1964, 1946 to 1964. Those individuals are at our age. Most of them, that generation was highly affluent. They had a little bit of money, and now they're at a different stage in their life, and they want to have a certain kind of comfort. A person that's honest, that's caring. You might want to consider being an elder companion. I know a lot of people doing this. Home health aid, again, I think it's just going to continue to grow. I have a lot of my students that do lifeguarding, pet groomer, a pet sitter, and also just different areas where any of those areas where you are a good nurturer. Again, it's about doing that. How many of you think that you might be in the pet or people care? I want you to put that down in the chat if you think that you probably can find a home-based business that you would like under people and care. Okay. Next, rental and selling services. I think it's hot. A lot of individuals. I was talking to this gentleman. He has a lot of stuff at his house, and he was considering what to do with it. And they were telling him that a lot of the stuff that he had at his house is worth a lot. So he was looking at maybe eBay, becoming an eBay seller, or maybe do an antique collector's dealer. So how many of you like going to, this is before COVID, like to go to yard sales? So you may be able to do antiques and collector dealer. Booksellers, I think it's still hot. Here's when I was talking to my students about this, a clothing rental. How many of you want to think about renting clothes. You say, oh no, I can't do that. That is gross. But what about people that get married and maybe don't work out or whatever, and you got all these dresses and stuff, like to the prom, you could rent those items out. I think there's a market for that. Fundraisers, a lot of nonprofits are looking at ways to raise money. Maybe you're good at have creative ideas. That might be a venue that you might want to go to. Again, because of the internet, you can import and export trade. Certainly with platforms like Etsy, platforms like eBay, you have opportunities, and actually Amazon has independent sellers. So those are just some ideas. This is not a rental and selling service. Of course, you can be a real estate agent, if there's certain qualifications. What about repair services? So this blows me away. Repair services, this blows me away. So I took a group of my students to the bike shop in Shawnee. And the guy's name is Larry Smith. Shout out to Larry Smith, the owner, bike store in Shawnee. And we were asking about the bikes. He said he could not get any bikes. So right now, you can't get any bikes. The demands are high. So in saying that, being a bike mechanic might be something you might want to consider. A car dealer, a car detailer. But I'm saying someone who's mobile. I've had somebody come to my house. That was pretty convenient. Coming to my house, detailing my car. Also, carpentry is hot. A handyman, someone can do multiple things. I also think is an element, is a criteria that would work well. One thing that is hot is lawn care and movers. So here's some suggested resources that I'm gonna try to get to. So in terms of freelance sites, I would say the number two sites are Upwork.com and Fiverr.com. I actually have some of my students doing those as a possible opportunity for them. Also, you might want to look at Upwork and Fiverr. So some other resources is the guerrilla marketing. I also have a book called Marketing for Professionals. And in the next 20 to 30 days, I'll have a book called 100 Viable Businesses You Can Start for Less Than $1,000. So that's going to be a special report. There's the book that I really like, and I should highly suggest you get it. It's the Ultimate Side Hustle. And so here's a quiz for you. What is a hustle? So if you know what a hustle is, you might want to put that down. But this is a great book. Has over 450 money-making ideas for the gig economy. So at this point, I am going to take some questions. If we have some, I have gotten some questions. I'm going to check my sources. Okay. Do I have any questions? I have some questions already. Let me go through my questions. You got something online for me yet?
Not just yet.
Not just yet. So let's go. How are we doing on time?
We're great.
We're doing great. Okay. Look, let's go with some questions. I got my academic hat on and I got my coach hat on. So I got one question. This question is, what is the best way to quickly and easily create an online presence? Great question. Here's my definitive answer. It depends. I would say you want to start with, I say maybe a free site like Facebook is one option. The other option, it depends on your profession. You might want to try LinkedIn. So what am I saying? That first of all, you want to identify your expertise. If you want to start this business again, this whole webinar is devoted on idea generation. There's actually a different phase. The next phase is marketing. Hopefully we're going to be having a session on that. But right now we're just talking about idea generation. So the best way to quickly and easily create an online presence, I think, is to start on LinkedIn, just identifying your expertise, and then you can take it out a notch because that's free. The other one is LinkedIn. The other one is Facebook. If you don't have the resources, Facebook is always a good source to get started on. And those are the two things I would say that are available. Great question. you'll get some M&Ms for that question. Here's another question. How do you find people in your community to connect with that are in the field you want to explore through a home business? Wow, that's a hard question. So how do you find people in your community to connect with that are in the field you want to explore through a home business? So here's the thing about home-based businesses. A lot of times they don't have a lot of adequate marketing, and so you don't know just in your own neighborhood how many people have businesses outside their home. In saying that, I think it always starts with your network. So ask your network, ask around. You can always maybe contact the small business office that's in your area. There's several SCORE. There are several other places you could kind of check. But I just think that the best thing is just asking around. Maybe at your church. Maybe your church is progressive and there's a business directory. Something we can work out. A business directory that outlines all the individuals. When I was in Tennessee, that's one of the things that I made sure that we have happen. So that is just something that you could think about. So great question.
I have a question for you.
Okay, got a question.
Okay, so someone is asking, how do you create a personal brand?
Okay, that goes back. So first of all, it starts with you got to know. First of all, you got to know your competence, your core competency. What do you do well? So this is twofold. The first thing you got to do is I would do a self-evaluation. I would write down what do I do best and write those down. And then I would do 3 to 5 individuals, family and friends that know you well, and ask them what do I do well. So now you have the nucleus of putting it together. Then I would work with LinkedIn. If you do a Google search, there's something called a LinkedIn checklist, and it has about 10 different criteria. One, you have a professional profile, some title. So that's really on a professional level. But that is how it starts. You got to understand, if you don't know what you're good at, I mean, how do you start online? You just throw something out there. I think you understand what you do well, and then you build from there.
Okay.
Great question. Anybody? A shout out to anybody? Do I have to shout out to anybody?
That was Dr. Kurt. Dr. Kurt asked that question.
Dr. Kurt, love you, man. Great question. Great question. Okay.
That's it so far.
Okay. Let me do a couple of. We doing okay with time? We finna wrap it up. So here's another question. How do you come back from a failed side business? Update pre-COVID home businesses. So that's a great question. It goes back. I think that is such an excellent question. How do you come back from a failed business? I think it goes back to persistence. And for me, I have failed a lot. I'll be honest with you. Shame the devil, I failed a lot. It comes from persistence. It comes knowing. So here's the thing about me. If you see a history, that has been done, I have faith. I have belief, and I know things can happen. And I just continue to work, continue to plow on. If you do your homework and look at history, from Edison, he had tons of failures. You have to be persistent. So I think that's really important. So we have tons of questions. So a couple of things I want to kind of reemphasize.
One more question that kind of goes along with that.
One more question.
Okay, so say you've had a failed business,
okay,
and you had a presence out there in social media. Say you had a Facebook page, you had a Instagram page and all. And if that company failed and it no longer exists, I know many where, you can do a search and that presence is still out there, even though that company may have failed and may not be operating currently. What's your suggestion? Should they leave up that presence or should they take it down?
Well, if you could take it down, I would take it down.
Okay.
In some cases, you can take it down,
Okay.
and sometimes you have to rebrand. And there's things I put out there I wish I could take back. See what I'm saying? But so here's what it goes back to expertise. If there's somebody out there, I would do personally, what I would do is to find out, find somebody who has expertise if they can remove it. If they can't remove it, I'll just move on. And that's just something that Here's the thing. I think the last I read, there were over a billion websites. So it takes it takes some effort to find you. So
Okay.
you fail. It's okay. It'll get lost. So again, I just want to thank you guys for participating. I want to again thank St. John Missionary Baptist Church. Please like the page, LinkedIn, your Facebook. It helps a lot. It helps the algorithm dealing with Google. And hang out with us. Follow us. We're trying to do some bigger and better things. Again, I'm going to have an ebook that's going to be available. That's going to give some idea generation. Hopefully, we're going to have the PowerPoints up. Those that come back and see us, you get a free copy. You don't get too many free things, but you'll get a free copy of our detailed points. So I just want to end it with a story. So you have to, when I'm talking about idea generation, starting for business, you got to decide what's most important. For most of us, like me, I have to work a full-time job, and this is all my side gig until it's successful enough. It'll run on its own, or it'll fade out. But you have to really decide what's important to you. And I'm gonna leave you with this story. There was a rich family. In that rich family, there was a mother and a father, and they had their only son. The son had a friend. The friend was not wealthy. He was a poor kid. But he was 10-year-old, just like the little rich boy. The little rich boy got sick. He got sick to the point that he was in the hospital. So he was in the hospital, and the little poor boy came and visited him. But the little rich kid, he died. He died. His mother, his father, lost the only son. The mother was so grieved. How could I lose my only son? Filled with grief, the mother passed. Now the father was alone. He lost his wife. He lost his only begotten son. Overcome with grief, he soon passed. So now, I forgot to mention this. That rich family had some jealous relatives. I want to let you know, do you have any jealous relatives? So they had jealous relatives. And when that son, when that mother and that father were deceased, they were filled with joy. So there was an estate sale. All the family came. They were so excited. I'm going to get that grand piano. I'm going to get that BMW. So they all gathered. And there was a lawyer. The lawyer came in, and the lawyer looked over. That was that little boy. The little poor boy was there. So the greedy relatives, they made fun of that little boy. They made fun of that little boy. And so the auctioneer said, let's get started. He opened it up. He says, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to sell the picture of the son. So all of a sudden, the people were grumbling. They were upset. And this is what the lawyer said. He said, wait. The will says we must start with the son. They were all grumbling. So he said, okay, let's start $100, $200. He said, the little poor boy said, I'll give $1. They laughed in the mockery. They mocked him. He said, are you sure? He said, anybody else? Going once, going twice, gone. Sold to the little gentleman down here. All of a sudden, the lawyer packed up his bags and was finna leave. And there was a mob. They came after him. He said, wait. what are you doing? What are you doing? We got all this merchandise, all these things that we came to bid on, and you just stopped just for a picture of the sun. The lawyer turned, and he paused, and he said, whoever gets the sun gets everything. So it's all about picking out what is really the most valuable thing that you have in life. So whatever reason, you might be losing your job or thinking about something else, but we really got to starting a business is very difficult. And so, but you have to have the right kind of character, the right kind of faith, the right kind of belief to make this go. So I've enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, you can please contact me anytime. Have a wonderful and blessed